Welcome, welcome, welcome everyone to Sister Wives with Mary Jane Kay. Today I'll be breaking down Season 1, Episode 2, Courting a Fourth Wife. You can find the first episode of Season 1 on the Season 1 playlist. I've already covered that. And I was comparing the Cody of then to the Cody of now. And I really want to go through the season in light of what we know today and go back and see what clues we find, how that perfect, best foot forward image they portrayed, is very different from the reality that existed within the family. And we're going to see this, as we contrast and go from the first season on. So this episode opens with Cody and his three wives sitting very close together on the couch. They're basically right on top of each other. And in later seasons, we notice that the wives and Cody sit further and further and further apart until eventually they do the confessional couch scenes alone, with each wife separate individually alone and with Cody alone. And it was before scene 19 that they started doing the confessionals alone. So you can really, really see the dynamic change after Robin comes into the family and then in later seasons. So Mary, Janelle, and Christine, who is very pregnant with Truly, are shopping for adorable baby clothes for the coming baby. And every time I see baby stuff, my heart just melts. So it was adorable watching it. And Cody explains that the wives have been with him for 16 years, and it's significantly different than when they first all got together in the family before they even had kids, because Cody met all his wives and married them before they started having kids within the family. Mary explains that the first 5 years were a huge learning curve on how the wives would deal with each other, how they would interact with each other. And Christine jokes to Mary, "Why'd you look at me when you said that?" I know from their riveting book, Becoming Sister Wives, wow, what a page turner, that Mary and Janelle struggled a lot, and it was a very discordant relationship between them. And Mary was incredibly bossy. She liked things like the laundry folded a specific way or the dishes done her way. And so Janelle and Mary butted heads a lot. And when Christine came into the family, she acted as a buffer and she lifted that burden from Cody's shoulders. As if a third wife is coming into the family, Mary and Janelle are going to stop looking at each other and, hating each other's guts and fighting. They're going to try to absorb the new wife. And then the new wife will act as a buffer and lower that burden. And they're not going directly to Cody with their problems. Christine will be there as a third wife and she will lift that burden. Then Cody no longer has to deal with it. So when a new wife comes in, the new wife, Christine, acted as a buffer and she lifted the burden. Then Cody no longer had to deal with it. So she was a godsend for him. When a new wife comes in, the wives that had the knives at each other's throat probably passed the peace pipe and let go of the fighting to absorb the new wife. And that's just my take. Cody and Mary have been married for almost 20 years around season 1, and they have one child together, Mariah. And we know at the point of season 1, Cody was married to Janelle for 17 years, and they had 6 kids together. And he was married to Christine at the point of season 1 for 16 years, and they had 5 kids together with baby Truly on the way. Christine tells viewers that she is pregnant with baby number 6, Truly, and she tells us Truly won't be the only new thing in the Brown family because right now Cody is courting Robin. Christine explains that courting means Robin's family is getting to know their family, the Brown family, and it's an exciting time for them. Everything is new, a new show, a new baby, a new potential fourth wife, and Robin's kids are also new, Aurora, Dayton, and Brianna, and they would be coming into the family. The wives are looking at absolutely adorable baby stuff, and Christine says Mary has always been open to more wives joining the family, and there have been times when Mary would mention to Christine that Cody should probably marry again. Christine felt like, no, Cody already isn't spending enough time with me. Are you kidding me? She didn't see Cody getting another wife, and as a third wife, I think she felt like she would be the last wife, so she really wasn't expecting to have to adjust to another wife coming in. She'd tell Mary she was insane, and Mary says that her and Cody were out one night at a friend's house, and Robin was this friend's cousin, and she was over too, and that's how they met her. Mary says Robin and her clicked immediately, right away, and Mary later told Cody to ask Robin to dance, and he did, and that was all she wrote. I think it's interesting that Mary, who was the first wife and the legal wife, with the status, told Cody to dance with Robin. We know Mary gave up her legal status later on and divorced Cody in order to allow Robin to be the legal wife so that Cody could adopt Robin's kids. Now it seems Robin is the head wife who directs Cody, like when she was the one to direct Cody to bring Mary a s'more at the bonfire at Coyote Pass so Mary would feel more encouraged about her non-existent relationship with Cody. Interesting how the tables have turned. Back to the show, Cody explains the woman he's courting to be a potential fourth wife is Robin, and she was 30 at the time, and she grew up in the polygamous lifestyle. She's a single mom of 3 to Dayton, 9 at the time, Aurora, 7, and Brianna, 5. Those kids are basically full-grown adults now, just to let everyone know how much time has passed. And Robin says she has spent the last few years trying to create a safe environment for her kids, and she works to support and care for them. Next, we see Cody packing up to go see Robin. It looks like Gabe and Gwen, and I'm not sure if it's Gwen and Isabel because they're so little at the time, but it looks like Gabe and Gwen are with him, and Gwen is looking in the mirror, and he asks, "Are you guys going to help me?" And he asks Gwen, "Or are you just going to stand there and be a princess?" And Gabe is helping Cody pack. He's grabbing Cody's clothes, putting them in the suitcase and on the bed, and Cody says that him and Robin have been courting for a couple of months at this point, and it's been challenging because she lives so far away. Cody is all smiles. He's glowing in the glow of love, handing his things to his kids to pack, saying it's been a long time since he's courted. Cody says it's the first courtship they've had in 16 years, and they've considered a couple people before along the way. And I know from either the book or online, one of the women was a significantly younger woman, and I believe it was from Becoming Sister Wives, the book. And at some point I might cover that book. And Cody says that the couple times he considered anyone, it wasn't a good match and it didn't get very serious. But in this case, Robin is very special and it seems like it just might click. He's all smiles, glowing, flushed, blushing with love. Like when people are in love, the fresh, perfect, lovey-dovey look they get, that lovey-dovey state they're in when all the good, wonderful chemicals are hitting their brain. Cody begins the process of saying goodbye to all his wives and his kids. He's going for a weekend visit to Robin's because she lives 5 hours away. Cody is giving Mary a huge hug. He's being very loving, very affectionate. And it's really shocking to see when you contrast it with now. Seeing him hug Mary and kiss Mary and hold Mary. Remember his psycho grin when he said happy anniversary to Mary so resentfully and artificially for their 30th anniversary when they picnicked with takeout on Coyote Pass? What a contrast this is. He gives her a very long hug. He tells her she'll be okay. It's only a few days. And she says she's only okay. And he kisses her and holds her cheek lovingly as he's saying goodbye. Just very in tune with her, very affectionate. It's like it's a different man. Cody says he's leaving all 3 of his wives to go and see Robin, and it leaves his wives feeling sad and hurt and raw. Cody says he thinks it's as much the fact that he'll be away as it is the fact that he's going to be seeing someone else, another woman that he's dating. He kisses Christine and hugs her, saying, "Love you," and it seems like genuine affection. He hugs each child individually, and it's really bizarre to watch this versus now. This was the beginning when Cody and the wives were adamant about presenting a good example of polygamy, and they wanted to advocate for it and put their best foot forward, of course. Cody asks Christine, "Are you all right?" And she says she is, and he looks at her like he seems genuinely concerned that Christine, who is very pregnant, is sad. Isabel is a very little kid at this point, and she is pulling his shirt asking, "How long will you be gone?" Christine says Robin lives far, and a couple times she told Cody, "He can't go, you can't leave me, you can't leave your family." And here we have a great and sad foreshadow moment coming up. Christine says she feels like Cody is replacing his family with Robin and her kids. We remember this season, Cody saying Robin's house feels like his home, and her kids feel like his kids. And we also see that he refers to his kids as Janelle's kids or Christine's kids a lot this season. He never says our daughter or our son or my daughter or my son, as if he distances himself from the idea that he's their father and puts them solely as the mother's kids. Christine's insights seem to ring very true currently in what we're seeing. She says it was hard. She realized it needed to happen, that Cody leaving was something that must happen, and that he must go be with Robin and get to know her and court her, but she says knowing it needed to happen didn't make it easier. It must have been like torture. She's very pregnant with 5 little ones as Cody goes to date Robin and spend the weekend. I can't imagine how that must feel. Cody says initially everyone struggles. He knows because he hasn't courted before, but we know that he has attempted to court a few times. And in Cody's view, they struggle because the wives struggle because they are afraid. They are in fear. Janelle says things are unbalanced because of the traveling Cody does, but Janelle thinks it will balance out because Cody has always been very careful with his time. So that no longer rings true. We know he spent at least 8 or 9 months exclusively shacked up at Robin's, citing the excuse that her household was the only one who was respectful and loyal to him and who followed his C-19 mandates. In the episode I covered with the panel at UNLV and the professor who studied polygamy, it was entitled Sister Wives on the Ropes. I can't remember the exact season and episode. I believe it was season 6, episode 9, but I can't be sure. It is on my channel though. The professor said a big factor of the success of polygamy was each wife getting equal time, and we know that completely stopped. Janelle says Cody is careful to make sure all his wives have their needs met. That didn't age well either. He couldn't even go and accompany Christine to Isabel's surgery and meet the needs of his kids. So we know that he isn't spending equal time. We also know that he went to Dayton's surgery with Robin, but he wasn't willing to go with Christine to Isabel's life-threatening surgery and support his daughter and support his wife through it. So that definitely didn't age well. Cody says he usually takes some of his kids down with him when he visits Robin so her kids and his kids can adjust to each other. And this time he's bringing Aspen and Maddie, and I wonder if he brings his older girls to babysit Robin's kids so the lovebirds can spend precious time alone together while his pregnant wife waits at home. So my question just got answered in the next second. He is bringing Aspen and Maddie to babysit Robin's kids so he can go out on a date with Robin. He likes taking his kids because he says he gets quality time with them while traveling. 10 whole hours, 5 to get to his soulmate and 5 to get back home. He's trying to make the reason seem like quality time when it seems to me he wants to bring Robin free babysitters. It's odd to me his daughters are babysitting so he can spend time with his soulmate. He thinks it's a great time for his teenage girls to get to know Robin and that that's important. Cody says in the polygamous lifestyle, his wives are comfortable with him bringing in another wife, but because they're comfortable with another wife, they aren't comfortable with him having a girlfriend. Cody says Mary introduced Robin to him, and Mary and Robin developed a strong bond. There was a spiritual drive that said to Mary, "This is something that will be a part of your life." And Mary says her and Robin had a connection, and she knew Robin was a person she could be friends with. And more than that, she could have her in her family and have Robin love her daughter Mariah and all the kids, and Mary could also love Robin's kids. Mary says what a blessing that would be to their family and to Robin as well. Robin tells her kids Aspen and Maddie will be coming to watch them while Cody and her go on a date. Christine says, "Here is this girl," and I just want to point out she's not a girl. She's 30 and a full-grown woman, but she says, "Here is this girl who's choosing to come into a family of 16 people and 3 wives. Robin is taking her kids to the park, and her kids want to bring bikes, and one kid is screaming, 'I want my bike!' So she has to put the bike away, and Brianna tests Robin by pretending to run down the driveway, and Robin says, 'Okay, monster children.' She says the cool thing about polygamy is there are people all over her mothering her kids. She says even Cody, and they all just help out, and that's one of the cool things about it, meaning polygamy. Mary says they have chosen this lifestyle, and the more the merrier. Everyone is practically on top of each other sitting on the couch in the confessional scene, and Mary is practically sitting on Cody's lap, and it is so odd to see them so close. Next up, Christine is rearranging furniture to prepare for Truly. So her being pregnant and Janelle and Mary are helping arrange furniture in the room so Truly can go into her room because there is no other room for Truly to be in the big one house. The wives are all helping Christine rearrange the room, and they say they get along well now after 15 or 16 years because they work through their issues. We know Mary and Janelle still have issues because Janelle was adamant last season and this season that Mary not live on the property with the drainage ditch everyone calls a pond. She wanted to make it a private park in fear that Mary would prevent the kids and the family from accessing it if the coveted pond were on her property. More than once, Janelle has mentioned how Mary wouldn't let the kids pass through her section of the one house to get to Christine's section from the inside of the house, so she made the kids go outside and up and down flights of stairs to get to Christine's rather than passing through from inside to access Christine, even in the wintertime. So really, I'm not sure the issues are all water under the bridge. Christine says it's a constant thing like any other type of friendship a person can have. There are ups and downs. Mary says it's the ebb and flow of the relationships. And Janelle chimes in, we've learned each other's quirks, that's for sure. And I'm certain she meant Mary's quirks when saying that. Christine said with Robin coming along, and Janelle finishes her thought, and Janelle says it just changes everything. I wonder, had Robin not entered the picture, what the dynamic would have been. I wonder if the Browns would have remained a relatively happy family with Cody spending equal time as he did previous to Robin, and if everything, I'm not saying it would be all sprinkles and rainbows, but if everything would at least be well in general. I doubt it, considering around the time of this episode, Christine was already telling Cody she hated polygamy behind closed doors. But I don't think if they hadn't absorbed Robin and her family, the family dynamic would be so withered and frayed. Or maybe it would. We really can't know. But I do think Robin coming in ripped everything wide open. And there was so much damage from absorbing her into the family, the bleeding just couldn't be stopped. I also wonder, would the woman have evolved so much and gained more and more autonomy had Robin not come in? Mary opened a successful inn. Christine is now free. Janelle seems to prefer when Cody isn't around. She likes running things her way. I think Janelle will stay for now, but will she stay when her youngest child is out of the house? Janelle, she seems to question polygamy a lot. She's questioned it in the earlier seasons if she wants to stay. We know she's left before. We know she questioned it during C19 and she had to do soul searching and she decided to stay. But is she really going to stay forever? I really don't think so. Janelle says Robin coming in shakes everything up. Mary says it will be a new adjustment. Cody says they all know it's not all rainbows and flowers seeing Cody go through the process of falling in love with somebody else. Robin says she doesn't want to hurt anybody and she doesn't want to make anybody uncomfortable. That didn't age well. Does she think Christine was comfortable when she shamed her for not trying as hard as she did in her first marriage? Robin says it's difficult for her. Cody says Robin is going, I'm not going to hurt them. And Cody says he's sorry, but there's no way around it. The wives are going to get hurt through this process. The wives go to eat, and Christine says Robin is really cute and really pretty. And I don't like to be rude about someone's looks, but really look at how Janelle and Christine age, and then look at Robin now, how matronly her curls are, and her jawline and her chin just keeps getting wider and wider and boxier as she ages, and she dresses very matronly. As Christine, as she ages, looks more vibrant and more flowy. Robin isn't the pretty one anymore. I think Christine and Janelle age beautifully, and Robin isn't aging as well as they have. Christine says if she were to get jealous of anything, it would be that Robin is so sweet and such a good companion, and she might feel she is being replaced on the companion side of it. Mary says the jealousy for her is about how Robin looks. Christine says she is glad Cody is getting a trophy wife. Not anymore. She does the curls of a 60-year-old. She has her wide-set jaw and chin that keep getting wider and wider and more square as each year passes. And as she gets more miserable and more miserable, and she's wearing the matronly clothes of a 60-year-old. Janelle and Christine have aged much better than Robin, and I don't like to comment on superficial things, but since they mention it, Robin is no trophy attraction-wise, and she isn't sweet. We've all seen that she's a master manipulator. She totally manipulated her way into this family, and she might be a good companion to Cody because she is needy and obeys him and is incredibly deferential to feed his ego, but she is not sweet. She's manipulative, and she may appear emotionally fragile, and she may appear to really be able to read people's emotions, but she uses it to manipulate and play victim and portray herself as a victim. It's crazy foreshadowing. Christine said previously, if the wife just wants the man, it doesn't work. And she foreshadowed twice in this episode so far, saying Cody is replacing his family with Robin and her kids, and saying she fears being replaced as Cody's companion. And those things all have come to fruition. Christine says Cody is a great guy. He deserves a great girl when saying it's great Robin will be the trophy wife. and she gets red, and we know that she usually gets red when she's embarrassed or covering a sensitive topic. And we know she got red and embarrassed at Ariel's party with whatever Ariella was telling her when they were doing the toast. Robin said, I think she gets red when anything impacts her emotionally. And she got red here. Robin said it was interesting when she told her kids about courting Cody. Dayton was undecided, Aurora was excited and happy and wanted to plan with Robin, and Brianna was shy but happy about it. Her kids ask which mom is coming, and she explains it will be Aspen and Maddie this time, and the kids seem a little bit disappointed. Cody says he has a woman who wants to be loved by him and courted by him to join the family, and at the same time, if he fears how much it will hurt his wives, it will challenge him in pursuing Robin, so it's a fine balance. Robin says, where do you find that balance between finding your own happiness and building a relationship with Cody and also being sensitive to what the wives are going through? Cody says polygamy is something they did choose, but because of emotions and outside influences in their culture, they struggle with it. Christine felt out of the loop during the whole courtship. She hadn't met Robin at all for 3 or 4 weeks after Mary and Cody had already met her, and so Robin coming along made her mad because she hadn't met her. And Cody is going on and on gushing about Robin. And he's saying he prayed about Robin and he got a testimony from God that Robin is someone he wants in the family. Now, did he get a testimony with prayer? Did he get a testimony from a supernatural being in the sky? Or did he decide he'd like a new and exciting place to stick it? I really don't think this is about God. He wants them strange, and in his faith, he can incorporate it if he marries the new woman and makes her a spiritual wife. Then he can have sanctified sex and call it a testimony from the supernatural being in the sky. Mary felt the same as Cody, hook, line, and sinker. She was sold, Christine said. Christine was panicking because she had never met her yet. She doesn't know what Robin was like. She's never even seen Robin. She's also pregnant with Cody's child while all this is happening, mind you. Christine thought it was horrible, and I don't blame her. It must have been horrible to be pregnant and watch your husband fall in love with another woman. I really think it must have felt like actual torture to be pregnant with Cody's child as he's falling in love with Robin and knowing he will spiritually marry her, and he's calling it a testimony from God. Christine has felt during this courting process while pregnant that she lost her best friend. How devastating. Robin says if she were to put herself in Cody's wife's shoes, she knows it would be hard. They love Cody, and for them to see him fall in love with her, then she says, not that it would make it so he loves them any less, but it would be hard. She says her heart swells with love for Christine, Mary, and Janelle because she knows how hard it is to sacrifice that. But she knows they are doing it for her because they want her to be happy, and they don't know her that well. That's really big, Robin says. They aren't doing it for Robin. She assumes it's all about her all the time, even from season 1. They all at this point were part of a religion where they have to live polygamy, and Cody got a testimony from God, and the head wife at that time, Mary, said she felt as Cody did. So no one really sacrificed for Robin because they wanted her to be happy. If they want to stay with Cody and they want to stay in the family, they have no choice. They have to do it. But it's not sacrificing for Robin. Because of the faith, they have to do it, and Cody doesn't give them a choice. And he also used his praying and testimony from God, and Mary parroted that as the head wife. It wasn't about them caring that Robin was happy. That was delusional. Christine was pregnant. She couldn't leave them. Janelle doesn't seem to mind as long as her time is equal again, but no one did this for Robin to be happy. She's really delusional if she thinks that. Robin says, how do you hurt a friend? How do you hurt someone who wants so much for you? Robin, how do you hurt a friend? How do you refuse to let Isabel hang out with her dad and siblings during C19 while the nanny was allowed to be there? How do you tell Christine she didn't try hard enough in the marriage when she sacrificed while she was pregnant, allowing Cody to go off and spend time with you? How do you blame Janelle's kids as the mean kids who won't include you in the family? And how do you let Cody live exclusively with you when your 3 friends that swell your heart with love sacrifice so much to allow you to be happy? How do you let Cody deem your home his home and your kids his kids? How do you let Cody attend Dayton's surgery but not Isabel's, life-threatening one? How do you hurt your friends, Robin, that swell your heart with love? That's a great question, and I think we all would like to know. Why didn't you want to sacrifice for your friends as they sacrificed for you? Could Robin have sacrificed by allowing Isabel over during the C19 or by allowing Cody to leave her side for a few weeks to support her other friend that swells her heart with love, Christine, during Isabel's surgery. When Christine was pregnant, she sacrificed by allowing herself to be without Cody throughout her pregnancy. Could Robin have survived and sacrificed a week or two without Cody so Isabel wasn't without her dad and Christine wasn't without her husband at the time during a life-threatening surgery? Did her heart swell with love for Christine when she allowed Christine to go alone with Isabel as Cody remained by her side? Cody accompanied her to Dayton's surgery, but she could not let him go during C-19 to be with her friend and her friend's child that she cared about so much. Also, Robin has 3 grown kids and Cody, and she needs a nanny for 2 little ones. Christine did homeschool and raising 7 kids at a time while pregnant, and she was overwhelmed, and she asked for help from Cody. And Cody said, "You need to hold up your end of the deal. I can't help you. Do your part, overwhelmed or not." Does Robin want her friends who sacrificed for her, who swell her heart with so much love, to not have equal? Can she not sacrifice as they sacrificed for her? Was her heart swelled with love when she said Christine didn't try as hard as she did, that Christine should have tried harder, and that she was angry about Christine not trying hard? Was that the love she's referring to? This is so much bullshit, it's pouring out of Robin's ears. Cody says it's been 16 years since he courted someone, so it's a unique experience, and it's very different this time around. Maybe because this time he's actually in love with Robin, and he's never felt that in love before. Cody says when Robin and him were new in the relationship, his heart was going through difficult times. He was sobbing in Christine's room. He didn't know what was wrong. Sobbing in his pregnant wife's room because his heart is breaking in a million pieces. And Christine told Cody he was lovesick and the only cure is a marriage. Wow. So Christine is pregnant, and this is her night with him on the rotation of every 3 nights or however they rotated the equal time back then. And she only gets a third of his time, and during that time, he's crying in her bed because he's heartbroken in a million pieces over being away from Robin. And he's crying to his pregnant wife, who already fears Cody is replacing his family with Robin and her kids, and who fears Robin will replace her as his companion. And pregnant Christine has to comfort him on her night. This is around the time she told him she hated polygamy, and he shut her down and got angry. He wasn't a shoulder to cry on for Christine, yet he expected Christine to be a shoulder to cry on about Robin. And he did admit he should have had more empathy, but that's a grain of sand compared to the accountability he needs to take. And he invalidated that grain of sand by invalidating Christine when he got defensive during the tell-all and said, "Whoever said I hold grudges doesn't know me and doesn't know who I am." He also said Christine refused to take accountability for the issues in the relationship, the last tell-all. But he seems to be the one who refuses to take accountability. Robin says polygamy is awesome. I'm sure when you are the favorite wife and your priority is having other people parent your kids, it is awesome for the head wife. Robin says polygamy rubs off all of her rough spots and it makes you become a better person. She says Cody is a better person now than when Mary first married him. Christine says sometimes when a wife comes into a family, she only wants the man, and she doesn't see that he is who he is because of his family. And Robin sees that Cody is like he is because of his family and all of his wives and his kids. Robin says Cody has been through it with Mary and with Christine and Janelle, and they made him a good man, and she wants to say thank you to each of them and go, "You guys awesome. Thank you so much." She laughs crazily and she's glowy with love. Cody gets to Robin's and they are giggly and smiling, and Cody greets her kids and they are playful together, and Robin says it does her heart so much good to see her kids be embraced by a family. So to see her kids embraced by Cody as well. With this, sobbing Robin starts her usual scrunching up her face, crying, the usual sobbing Robin deal that she does, and she says sorry to the camera. She starts crying. Robin says she has a list she wrote 2 years ago of the things she wanted in a potential mate, and Cody is that list. Cody is him. He's her soulmate. Cody says he never held hands with a woman who wasn't his wife in 16 years. He says he's rusty. According to Christine, they wouldn't even hold hands for years when she was explaining the no intimacy. But he has no problem eagerly touching Robin when they go on their date and holding her hand, and they order hot chocolate, and Robin is given a spring ring by Cody that Maddie made. Cody said no one in his family would call him romantic, but he got overcome by this romantic bug, and no self-respecting man would admit this stuff. And they are sitting very close together, like kissing distance, staring into each other's eyes, blushing and giggling. And you can tell he totally wants to kiss her, and he's kissed her before, but he can't on camera. But Cody says he melted. He doesn't know what's happening to him, but it's still happening, and they're both giggling like school children in love, like when you're a teenager and you have your first crush. And Cody says he has courted Robin for 4 months, and by polygamous standards, that's a very long time to be courting. So now they want to move forward and get the families merged ASAP. Janelle says they've been here before and they know what the outcome will be. She says they have a fabulous relationship and they know that when they get through the transition of merging the families, they'll have a bigger, cooler family. Cody says he's in love with Robin, and that doesn't diminish the love he has for his other wives. This is the problem. He's in love with Robin. He isn't still in love with Mary, Janelle, and Christine. He loves them as the mother of his kids, but he isn't in love with them. And he's in love with Robin, like a soulmate kind of love. And he's very attracted to her, and he wants to be with her, and he wants the burden of her kids. He wants to take that on and be a father to them. And he communicates with her. He holds her hand in this scene, and he's very affectionate. And I'm not sure if it was a deep in love foundation with any of his other wives when they first got married. Maybe with Mary at first, but Christine we know he wasn't deeply in love with. He wasn't attracted to her. And Janelle seems more like a friend, like a practical companion and friend. And Robin is like his one. Like every person dates a bunch of people and then they have the one that either got away or maybe it worked out, but they know that that person was like on their wavelength. Every person has many, dating relationships and love relationships in life. And there's always one where there's everything aligned and you feel it in your soul. There's an energy in your soul, in your mind, in your heart between the two people. And there's an energy with that person. And Cody and Robin have that. And you can see it. You can even see the glow on camera. And it has lasted. And maybe they are less in love now, but she is still very needy and very deferential. And Cody operates on ego. And he feels like she is his home and her kids are his kids. And the love with Robin is very different than the love with the other wives. And Robin also isn't the sweet, swelled heart, swelling with love woman she is trying to portray herself to be in season 1. She's a master manipulator, and she may be able to really read people's emotions, but she lacks empathy, and she uses her ability to read people to manipulate. And she is now very angry and resentful and frustrated because deep down, she has a lot to do with the poor dynamic and the state of the family today. I think she 100% knows that she was a big factor in this. And Cody is a big factor as well. I mean, the way he treats his wives is really inappropriate and manipulative and abusive, but it also has to do a lot with her. And if she put her foot down with Cody, I believe he would have behaved differently with his other wives as well. So the blame is also on her as a master manipulator. It's also on Cody as well. Anyways, that does it for this episode of Sister Wives with Mary Jane K. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. I look forward to all of your comments. I love, love, love everyone's insights and comments. It really gets me thinking, and I love, love, love it. Thank you so much for helping me create a wonderful community. I will see you guys soon. I will try to do another episode very shortly. Thank you so much. See you guys later. Bye.